Yeah, we are live.
So here we are ready to begin. We'll have to stop share. A very warm welcome to each of you, Gina, Jessica, Tanvi, and Twinkle. I warmly welcome you all for the session today, and we are really looking forward towards this session since several days. And you all have been the, you can say, the wait for all of us. Uh, we already had a session today at 4:30 also, which was tips from champions. There is a little difference between the tips of champions at 4:30 and the session that's at 7:30 uh, Indian Standard Time. The difference is that you all are all Indians, of course. You all are all KVOs. The difference is that you all are oceans away from India. You have gone internationally for an education. Some of you all have gone for an undergraduate education, some of you all for post graduation. So we have Twinkle from Germany, we have Tanvi and Jessica from US, again East West Coast, and we have Gina, who was also in the US, has come down recently and she's spending some time in the ministry at Delhi. So we are very happy to welcome all the four of y'all. I'm also happy to welcome the audience, which is on the YouTube, uh, eagerly waiting to hear from you all. At the onset, I would like to maybe give you all a little brief about Matushri Manibai Shivji Devji KVO Kanya Keroni Fund. Although you all are fully aware of it because you all are fully involved in the trust in different ways, especially the BCSMA awards, the Prince Merit Awards, and many other activities of the trust, the workshops, conferences, the jury process, and so on. Just to give you a little highlight that this trust, I don't know how many of you all know about the existence of Matushri Manibai, how old the trust is. The trust is 53 years old. It is in existence for the past more than 53 years. The reason for the existence, of course, was when women education was not so popular. Girls hardly went for higher education or never went for higher education. There were visionaries who felt that they wanted to spread women education. They wanted more and more girls to get empowered and educated. Naturally, they would be uh, instrumental in further educating the future generation. You all know that if a mother is educated, what happens to the whole family? The whole family is empowered. So I think the right decisions were taken 53 years back. And from then, it has never looked back. It has always grown further in its activities. And some of the activities that it has, am I audible? Yeah. Some of the activities, it began with a scholarship program for the students who could not afford an education. Gradually, it had to go, just a minute. It is pouring, so there was a lot of, sound of the rain. So it began with giving free ships or scholarships to the girls who were otherwise not getting educated because of either lack of funds, or people found that anyway they have to take care of the home and family. So why invest on them? It was looked at as an expenditure rather than an investment. Thanks to the visionaries and all the trustees and the office bearers and the committee members of the then KVO Stanakwasi Mahajan, who accepted the concept and initiated this whole thing with the help of the fund from the donor family. Uh, the Matushri Manibai donor family has always had a trustee on the trust board. We have Sanjay Shah, who is part of the family, who's part of the trust and the family. Similarly, we have other trustees and committee members and uh, all the other office bearers who have, of the past and the present, who have made this journey very wonderful. And we do see that post-graduation, doctorate, post-doctorate, national education, international education has all never seen a boundary. They've all spread uh, limitless. And some of the few projects that I would like to say recently were instituted was Srimati Premilaben Lakshmichand Kenya family instituted a fund for international education, so that it would make it easy for the girls to go for higher education. This is for postgraduate studies. It's a soft loan. We also have the BCSMA, which is a fund from the parent family, the donor family, who made it happen to identify meritorious students. So there is a gamut of a screening process besides the academic accolades that the students have gained. There are co-curricular, there are soft skills, there are communication skills, social skills. Everything is assessed, and it is instituted that way. And some of you all are recipients to that. Similarly, we also have the Prince Merit Award, which is for those students who have been able to secure an admission in meritorious and esteemed premier institutions and universities in India and internationally. This is one of the recent one, that is Srimati Kalabin Mahendrabhai Cheda Prince family, who has instituted it. There are many seminars and workshops on education which have been held in the center of Mumbai, suburb of Mumbai, and so on, and even other parts of the country. To take the recent examples, in the last 3 months of the lockdown period, we've had several training programs on digital marketing, entrepreneurship, e-commerce, and futuristic. We are coming up with programs on the Scratch programs, then the coding for robotics. We are coming up with artificial intelligence. We are also having programs on languages, to begin with French. Then we'll have other foreign and Indian languages also. We also plan to have several programs on financial literacy, on good parenting, optimum parenting, and many other programs difficult to mention right now. So we are looking forward to all that. But what is the new beginning that we are making today? And we are very happy for this beginning. Then amongst the students who are in India and whom we have been able to cover up in the last 4 weeks, we are very happy that today we also have been instrumental in getting y'all across the board. We know that the challenge is the timing. Your time and our time has to match. Fortunately, y'all have made it happen, and we really thank y'all for that. The efforts that y'all have taken to put in amongst all your busy schedule to make a presentation happen for easy communication and better communication for the students, parents, and the community at large. And with this, few words of Matushri Manibai. We are already having 60 members on the audience, and of course, this will definitely also increase. The numbers will increase on the YouTube. There are many members who are on the YouTube who are viewing you. Some of them are trustees and members from the KVO community, the office bearers of the trust, and many others. With this little beginning, I would like to now go on to the presentation of the four of y'all. I'm so happy to present the four of y'all to the community who make us feel proud. To begin with, Gina Pravina Mulchan Saula. We are very proud of you, Gina, from village Vadala, lives in Vileparle, currently in Delhi. Of course, she'll talk about her stories of her, I don't know what to call it, the movement from US, from India to US and US back to India. I think she's the right person to talk to. And we are very happy that you're representing at the ministry in Delhi right now. We are also very happy to welcome Jessica Harsha Hasmukh-Haria, who has always been on our award list. Jessica, I think as a child, we have been knowing you receiving awards. So we have the pleasure to introduce you from village Bada, lives at Matunga, currently in the Silicon Valley. Also, I'll be happy that she is also recently married to, I think, Prabodh. Am I right? Yeah. So your story also we will know soon while you discuss your story and explain what you have, your journey from India to US and there in US also. Tanvi. Tanvi Chandrika Dhiren Chheda from village Waki, lives in Bhandup, currently in California. I'm very glad and happy again to welcome you, Tanvi. You have also been a very star personality in the community right from childhood. I only remember you receiving one after the other awards. So you and Jessica, of the image, the memories that I have of the two of you are always or somewhere on the dais receiving awards. And not to miss the great contribution that you all are making in your own space, which of course the journey will be known very soon. I also welcome Twinkle Saroj Hiten Lapasia from village Kodai, Ghatkopar, currently in Germany. I'm sorry, forgotten to mention there, currently in Germany. So we are very happy to have all of y'all. Twinkle, we were able to connect through the programs that we had while she was traveling internationally. And similarly with Gina, our journey started from there, but we have never looked back. We have always remained connected and we will remain connected. That is the heart of India within y'all. And without wasting much time, I think I will hand over because y'all really require time and I know y'all have lots and lots to share. So off to Gina. I know you have given y'all very few minutes. However, I also know y'all are uh, very capable to create a very crisp story in depth. Yes, off to Gina.
Thank you so much, Elaben. And thank you for always being our guiding light in this community and for all of the work that you do. Truly, thank you so much for being you. Hi, everybody. My name is Gina Savla. My academic training has been in architecture from Kamla Raheja in Mumbai. And thereon, I went on to study urban planning from Harvard University in the USA. I started my professional career designing luxury villas as well as quality housing and neighborhoods for slum dwellers. Thereon, I went on to working in city design and planning and have now moved on to much more policy making and public administration roles in city design and city development. Most recently, I've joined the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs in the Government of India as a consultant in New Delhi. Our careers are much more dynamic than we imagined them to be in our early 20s. This is both because of internal as well as external factors. Our passions evolve, and so do our ideas about our own role in society and in the industry that we're involved in. Similarly, the industry also evolves, and with that, the skills that are demanded from us also progress. And hence, we need to be much more agile and adapt our career trajectories accordingly. So in the next few minutes, I won't really go over my personal journey, but instead I'll leave you with a few ways to think more deeply about your own career choices and how to redesign them. Reflect deeply and redesign with intent. Where you are, where you want to go, and how you want to get there. I'll leave you with 4 questions to reflect on. The first is hard work versus passion. What should be more important in the choices that you make? If you see this graph here, on the x-axis, you have hard work, and on the y-axis, you have passion. On the x-axis, as hard work increases, you go on the right, high hard work, and more towards left is low hard work. Similarly with passion, as you go up the graph, it's high hard work, and lower the graph, low hard work. So this graph is divided into 4 quadrants. When I studied for my 12th standard and 10th standard, like most of you, there was very little real passion or interest in what I was studying. But I had to therefore substitute that with much more hard work so that I could get into the colleges that were of my choice and have the career of my choice. So when I got into architecture, it was both high passion as well as supplemented with high hard work. And so what I want to say here is that you'd want to be in the top right quadrant, which is what is most rewarding, high passion and high hard work. If you're in the lower right quadrant, which is low passion but high hard work, you're not going to have happiness for too long. It's not going to be very sustainable. Similarly, if you're in the top left quadrant, which is high passion and low hard work, you might not necessarily be successful. If you find yourself in the bottom left quadrant, which is low passion as well as low hard work, you should get out of there. Then, push and pull factors. There's always a pull factor and a push factor in the decisions that we make. Pull factors are generally much more driven by your own self, and push factors, in most senses, are circumstances that you're trying to escape. They're more external to you. In my own example, when I was studying in the 10th or the 12th standard, there was a pull factor in the sense that I wanted to work hard, I wanted to do better so that I could get into a good school. And push factors were usually my mother's voice, which told me that you have to work hard so that you can be independent, so that you're not dependent on somebody else, so that you're not dependent on somebody else financially, so that you can do better. And this is sort of kept, and I think a balance of pull and push factor helps you build momentum in whatever that you're doing. How you make your decisions, I think this process is different for different people. Over time, I have figured out that this is the process that works best for me. I usually start off with a combination of talking to people, seeking advice, as well as doing my own research. And then I synthesize all of that information in Excel sheets, sometimes just lists, thinking about what is the progress that I want to make, what are the leaps that I want to make, and what are the risks that I'm going to take in doing so, what are the opportunity costs that I'm going to trade in the bargain. And then I really sort of meditate on this. And this meditative process is something that I've discovered only in the last few years. It gives me immense clarity. And what this essentially involves is, after all of this synthesizing of information and talking to people, I shut myself off in my house, in my room for 2 or 3 days straight, and listen to some people that I find inspiring, and that gives me a lot of clarity of thought. And it has almost always happened that the decision that I was struggling to make presents itself, and I'm able to make that decision with much more joy and happiness and with very little anxiety. And this is my process, and I've iterated that over the years, and this is something that works for me. And I would urge you guys to also think through, what is your decision-making process? then what energizes you? When I was in school, like most of you, I was doing dance and theater and painting and playing throwball. And then comes your like HSC and SSC, and you give up everything that you enjoyed doing, and you dedicate all of your effort towards education. Unfortunately, all of these co-curricular activities are not really rewarded in our current education system. At least 10 years ago, till when I was in school, it wasn't. Thankfully for me, as I transitioned towards architecture, although I gave up all of these other passions of mine, I I took to travel, and we had a lot of travel involved in the way our curriculum was designed. We traveled to seek inspiration, and we utilized those inspiration immediately into the designs that we made. Over time, as I moved away from design, I began to travel in order to understand the world better, whether it was conflict areas or whether it was different types of ecology. It helped me in starting to think about how I could use that in advocacy work in my own personal life, as well as how it can contribute to the work that I want to do going forward. But I will say though, in my case, for example, not having another co-curricular has left my career and my work in city design, planning, architecture to become the way I define myself, and has become the way I identify myself. It's become my core sense of identity. And the challenge or the risk with that is sometimes when you're struggling at work, you have nothing else to fall back on. So it really urge that nurture from early on something else that also energizes you, whether it's theater, it's painting, it's reading, whatever it is, a musical instrument. Nurture that activity. It helps you lean on something when something else that you define yourself by doesn't go well. So I'll leave you with these 4 things to reflect and redesign the choices that you make. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. We had a wonderful food for thought. We will surely come back to you with greater questions. And we move on now to Jessica.
Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today. Good morning, good evening, and thank you, Ilanti, for organizing this wonderful session, both today, but also for all of your efforts towards the Kachi community. When you were doing the introductions for what you do, and also for all the people here, I have to say I was filled with a lot of pride for our community. So I just want to start off with, thank you for making my morning better. And let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna jump right into it. In the next 7 or odd minutes, I would love to take people through a brief history of my life and some key moments and some learnings and tips, and then also give people a brief insight into my next challenge. So key moments, why are moments key? Because life is not linear. And a key moment is a series of events that either changed your perspective or a decision that you took that changed your life forever. And I'll be framing each of the key moments in my life as a question, because I've already lived that memory, but I want to ignite the same questions in you. My life at a glance is, the first thing was I was born and brought up in Matanga, and that everyone knows is the mecca of education in Bombay. I've attended every single possible class that you can think of and did a lot of exams in math, science, art, played a lot of sports. And I learned a lot at those classes. But what I realized was that I was learning equally, if not more, at home. I was blessed to live in a joint family, so I could learn something from every generation. From my brother, I learned how to be playful, how to take risks, how to be confident, how to stand up. From my parents, I learned unconditional love, values, and how to treat every single person. And from my grandparents, I learned the wisdom of the ages, spirituality, how to tell the best stories and keep relations. The second key moment was when I became a finalist in this quiz show called India's Child Genius, and I got to go to the Rashtrapati Bhavan. I think the quiz experience itself was one thing, but what was more impactful to me was meeting Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. He was unlike anyone I had ever met before, and he radiated this energy, curiosity, and intelligence that I realized then that when I walk into a room, I want that light and that presence. So my question to you is, how do you radiate that presence? How do you make yourself felt? Next thing was I ended up in DAIS, which is Dhirubhai Ambani International School, and I did the IGCSE board in 10th standard, where I ended up being an all India topper and individually in 5 subjects. And then in 12th standard, I continued on to the IB board, where I got a perfect score. I actually almost did not apply to MIT because I didn't think I would get in. But I ended up getting into my dream college and also securing a lot of scholarships from Cambridge, Cornell, Princeton, Columbia. And I have to say this about my MIT experience. I think this was the first time I had ever lived independently. And it was really exciting to be able to make that transition. Did a bunch of research at college, did some campus leadership activities and internships. These were also actually the years where I became more involved with the KVO community, and I was more exposed to the resources available through KTSE, LNMA, DTKF funds. And without the support of this community, I don't think this would have been possible. I do want to call out a specific moment that wasn't actually as glorious. Not everything was hunky-dory. I was in a place where I was surrounded by the best of the best. And I often wondered if I belonged. My peers had been coding for years before college. Did I really stand a chance? The imposter syndrome, I think, is very, very real. But there's this image that I always come back to when I need strength, because it reminds me of my strength. I actually had switched from chemical engineering into computer science. And it was a little funny story. I actually happened to be in a lab talking to a grad student, and he said, "Why don't you come back tomorrow 5 p.m.?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And when I came back, the whole lab was there, and they introduced me as a new research student. And he had gotten me mixed up with someone who was actually there for an interview. I didn't have the heart to decline the offer, but I took the job, then learned Python to be able to do it. And then I ended up publishing with this grad student as a freshman. And when the world tells me I cannot today, I looked at this paper and I say, I can and I will. The next key moment was my first real exposure to the world, to the real world, was internships. My father had always inculcated this habit in me. Whether you're an intern or you're an owner, do what the owner would do. In my first internship, I ended up making marketing messages, writing business plans as a software engineer. And that value of being an owner was further driven into me at Facebook, where there's posters like this one on the right. Nothing at Facebook is someone else's problem. Upon graduation, I ended up joining Trifacta, which is a research startup as a software engineer. And there I learned to be a mentor. I took a hackathon idea I had into a product that would be used by 200,000 analysts in 70 plus countries, got a lot of speaking opportunities, did some data volunteering. And then I took the opportunity to convert some of the research projects that I was working on in college into a company as called Instabase, where I was an early team member, again, doing everything from customer success to recruiting, and then finally moving into product management. speaking of InstaBase, I want to ask you if you're ready to take the plunge. I joined this 3-person tiny company in 2017. And now, by a miracle of nature almost, we've grown to be 100 employees at a $1 billion valuation. And I could have never imagined myself being part of that journey had I not taken this plunge. On a personal note, I do want to say I had this huge fear of singing my whole life. But as Elaine said, that I got married recently and I wanted to sing a song for my parents. I took a lesson and I was told, you're a bad singer, but you're a good student. And that was enough to propel me. On the day of the Sangeet, I had high fever, got injections, and I lost my voice actually. And I was advised against talking, forget singing. However, ended up singing and everyone cried, including the photographer. It's possible they cried because of my singing, but that day, my dad said, today I can die a happy man. And I found one of the most meaningful moments of my life on the other side of what might appear to be a simple fear, but required just as much determination, patience, and hard work as any academic or work success. And I hope this nudges you to take up the pen, the dumbbell, the laptop, whatever it is, and go seize your day. Finally, towards the end, I just want to share a whirlwind of a few quick tips and tricks that I've learned in my professional life very recently. The first thing is to ask one more why. Whenever you're new at a job, ask one level deeper of a question, find out about one more domain, and that really helps you solidify your understanding of what you're doing. What that also helps you do is argue both sides. As a product manager today, I often have to bring multiple different parties onto the same table and get them to do the same thing. For that, I need to understand the other side better than they can. The third thing is, especially something I've learned as I'm maturing as a leader in my career, is mastering ambiguity. In college, your problem was given to you. You had to find the solution. Here, often you're trying to find the right problem to solve. You're acting on imperfect information with uncertain outcomes, and it is imperative to break large, complex, messy problems down to get anywhere. The fourth thing that I do personally is I chase flow aggressively. What is flow? Flow is a state of ultimate focus, and even an hour of that focus in a day sort of beats a whole day of interrupted workflows. In the outcome and the productivity and the satisfaction you get in those states of flow are absolutely unparalleled. That being said, I often get stuck, as does everyone. And what I do when I get stuck is I pretend it's happening to someone else. I say, oh, she did this, then she did that, then this didn't happen. And almost instantly, I will try to, put my advice cap on and actually be able to help myself. And the last thing, again, I want to come back to is take a leap of faith in yourself, in someone else, whatever that is. A pessimist sounds smart, but ultimately it's an optimist that wins. So with that, what is my leap of faith? Today, I know I can do my job and I have a lot to learn, but that learning path exists. What is my next uncertain, uncomfortable challenge? My next challenge is, this is me in the center. This is my family outside. This is my friends. Outside is the community, and then that's the whole world. So our existence is very layered. And my next challenge is to extend my sphere of influence. A lot of people say that networking is about who you know, but I think it's not about who you know. It's about who will miss you when you're gone, who feels your presence today. And why do I want to extend this sphere of influence? To what end? To what purpose? I think data is the new oil. And like any technology, it has two sides. Deciding between information and misinformation are the new challenges of our existence. And I want to help people make better decisions by giving them access to the right data at the right time in the right manner. How will I do it? I don't know, but that's what the next few chapters of my life look like. With that, I just want to say thank you. And these are a few resources, books that I found really impactful in my life. And if you're more tech savvy, Instagram accounts that I follow and I absolutely love. And I'd love to connect with people if they have questions.
Jessica, we need to talk. I work on improving data-driven decision-making for urban India.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Let me try to, how do I stop sharing my screen? Oh, perfect.
Thank you, Jessica. You were very exemplary in what you spoke, very clear with what your vision is. And certainly there are a lot of questions that are going to come into you also. And now we move further. We have Tanvi, our next spot.
Okay. Hello all, thanks for joining. And Ila ma'am, thanks a lot for your efforts in organizing this. And each time I hear about new activities organized by you and KVO Samaj in general, I'm surprised. And I'm very impressed that you've already adapted to webinars like this and so many others during the lockdown. Okay, so I'm Tanvi Chheda. I am a geologist, and that means that I study the Earth's history. And say, like a detective looks at a stain of blood and tries to find out what happened here 20 hours ago, I look at mountains and valleys and caves and rivers and try to find out what happened here 20 million years ago. So geology wasn't a subject in your schooling, right? And it wasn't in mine either. I also went to school in Mumbai, perhaps like many of you. And initially I was in a government-aided school in Bandu, which at that time, the city was way less developed than other parts of Mumbai and didn't have good schools or resources like many other schools in Mumbai do. But my parents worked really hard to find out about competitive exams, and I got Homi Baba, Pravinya Pradnya, NTSC, all of those medals, and KV awards like KTSC and BCSMA. And my mom, she is now an education counselor. She would take me to Dadar and Matunga in crowded trains and for classes and exams. And it was a really hard time. But all of these achievements and encouragement from Jessica's parents and KVO led me to apply to universities abroad. So I got into IIT as well, but I went to Cornell with a Tata Scholarship. And at Cornell as well, I got the highest GPA and many other awards. And I'm now doing a PhD at Stanford. And I've been financially independent since age 17. And I emphasize this because I think it's very important to consider, especially for girls, financial independence. And it's really empowering and freeing. And I'll come back to this topic later in the talk. So in the course of my bachelor and PhD studies in the past 8 or 9 years, I've traveled to 45 countries. And this map shows the breadth of my travels and some of the work that I did in those countries. And I'm going to share some actions and decisions I made to get to these places, the challenges I came across and how I navigated them and what I learned from them. So first thing, the Tata Scholarship, it paid for the gigantic cost of attending university. But it also gave me some amount for, say, food and living. But if I wanted to do something like learn sailing or scuba diving, I had to earn and save money myself. So I would do things like find fruit trees so that I could climb up that tree, pluck fruit for breakfast, and not have to spend money to buy breakfast. I would also cycle everywhere. So instead of taking an Uber, and if cycling was way too far, or if I was on a time crunch, public transport. But say in the Netherlands, I bought a used cycle from a scrapyard for 40 euros. I rode 300 kilometers and then sold it for 50 euros when I left the country. So I understand that things like this are not possible everywhere. So say Mumbai roads are not friendly to cyclists and pedestrians. But this is an example of just finding out ways and not giving up, saying something like, I can't reach my sailing class because I don't have a car. I wake up at 6 a.m. I will ride to my cycle for 2 hours and I will get to the sailing class at 8 a.m. because I really want to. So just like this used cycle, I also have used secondhand clothes. And even though I'm in a financially much better situation now, I still use secondhand clothes. And I think there is no shame in that. It's actually good for the environment because you are reusing something that someone doesn't have use for. And this is what brings me to this topic of adapting. So how do you survive and thrive during your most struggling years? I adapted. Adapting is being open to situations and environments and tasks. No task is big or small. So I loved my time in this muddy ditch. It was raining, it was cold. And this is a photo from New Zealand. The context is that there was a huge earthquake that had destroyed 50,000 homes. And we were trying to research soil liquefaction, which was the cause of the residences losing their structural integrity. So I was in this ditch. I absolutely loved my time. That's a part of adapting. To earn money, I also did internships every single summer. And this is something I would recommend to everyone. Like, make your every vacation or summer break count, and it'll help you build your resume as well. This is a video of my office and my internship office in Norway. I was working in this building. On Netflix, there's a TV show actually called Occupert, where this is shown as the Prime Minister's office in Norway. And I was super fortunate to have a window office in such an excellent location. And this is the largest company of this, one of the richest country in the world. And I got a return offer to continue working there. But instead of staying there, which would have been extremely easy to do, I decided to chase newer experiences. And my driver for doing that was to be able to empathize with other human experiences. So the world is way more diverse than this one perfect place that I had seen. And I wanted to be able to relate to them. The only way you can know where a shoe pinches is to walk in those shoes. So on the left, you see another one of my offices in Canada. This is the view from my window. And yet, instead of taking an offer back from them, I chose last summer to go to Kenya and work from this tent office for 2 months. And just learning about the daily life, the struggles of folks, that has taught me so much. And it also gives me empathy to know what problems others face and what are the challenges in the world that I'd like to solve in the future. Similarly, on the right, you see a photo with my manager's baby in France. So networking wasn't restricted to the office environment for me. I would reach out outside of office, like meet people's families and go out hiking. But also on the left, you see that this is a place where Ebola testing was going on at the border of Congo. And it was really interesting to see the kind of thermal imagery that they had implemented in a place like this to find folks who might have Ebola. So while chasing all of these diverse environments, how do you make decisions? Because there will be tough decisions that come up. Say in this photo in the US, I'm sailing with a venture capitalist from one of the biggest VC firms, Andreessen Horowitz, or I'm hitchhiking in Rwanda on the right. So how do you decide when you come across completely new situations. One thing that I've found extremely useful is to stick to some of my fundamental values and also make decisions beforehand and stick to them. This also holds to, say, standing your ground in a place where you might be the youngest person working and folks working under you might be older than you, or you might be the only woman working there. If you are really sure about something, to emphasize it, to assert it, is extremely important. And this also translates to personal life. So, for example, if you're going out to a party tonight and tomorrow morning you either have a meeting or want to go to the gym, like a meeting is compulsory, but say you want to go to the gym at 7 a.m. If I go to a party and I've decided that I'm going to leave at 10 p.m., there is nothing anyone can say. Like they can tell me, "Arey kya, stay," or "Don't be uncool." But that's not going to convince me to stay longer and miss the workout the next morning. I am going to leave at 10 p.m. And that's the part of asserting, of deciding beforehand that I would like you all to think of. And this also so I'll give you an example of asserting in personal life. We've talked a little bit about profession. Instead of doing a wedding the conventional way and spending a lot of money on ceremony and a party and fancy meals, I really wanted to donate that money. And this is how I did my wedding. This is my house. This is where I live and where I'm talking from right now. And we did video calls with all of our guests. In the bottom left and right, you see my and my husband's grandparents. And the money that we would have spent on a wedding, we donated all of that money to two organizations that we believed in, which were World Wildlife Fund and Planned Parenthood. And that was like, to talk with your family about not doing wedding the conventional way is extremely controversial, and it was really hard to convince them. But this is it was really important for me to spend money on not a party and on a good cause. And I asserted myself over multiple months talking with my family. And I'm extremely fortunate that my husband, Sagar, he's a product manager at Google. He was also extremely supportive of this. And I think this is like marrying the correct person is also one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. We also assert some of these values at home. So, for example, gender equality, dividing all the chores. So I assert that if I do the dishes today, my husband does the dishes tomorrow, asserting that equality of dynamics at home and not just in professional life, I think is extremely important for the world we are going into. And especially the women, the young girls who are listening to this, think about this. That's all. I'll be happy to field more questions, and thank you. Stop my share.
Yeah, it was nice listening to you, Tanvi. Yes, I just missed mentioning that Tanvi too is married recently to Sagar from village Bachao. And yes, that's true. And you had a lovely presentation, a lot of messages, very crisply presented. Thank you, Tanvi, for all. And now we'll wait for all the questions. We move on to Twinkle. Twinkle from Germany. Yes,
Hello,
Twinkle.
everyone. It's nice to see you all, and warm welcome to everyone who is watching us. Before beginning, I just want to say it's first time for my mother to see me speaking, and I'm very happy that I will be speaking in front of her. And today, if I'm in Germany, it's just because of her. So, okay, I will start my presentation. Okay, see my presentation. Okay, so myself, it's agriculturalist Twinkle Hitain Lapisia. Yeah, I was like a round peg in a square hole. Coming from the family full of engineers, medical students, chartered accountants, I chose to take up agriculture as my profession. I had gone through many obstacles and many questions, not focusing on that, but today I would like to focus on what I learned from agriculture, because maybe this can open out the people who are watching me, that there are more fields to learn. So my journey, this starts 2010, when I was 13 years old, sitting on the wooden bench on my school, reading an article. I never thought that that article will define my career. And that article was about golden rice. The background of the slide is actually golden rice. It's pretty difficult for me to explain what exactly I'm studying, because my field is completely different. But I will try to explain. So it was basically about the golden rice. I won't go into the detail of the golden rice, but the article, it motivated me so much that I decided on that very day that I want to take up agriculture as my profession. Yeah, in 2010, I didn't say it to anyone. I just went to my mom. I said that I don't want to study engineering in the future. I don't want to study medical. I want to go into agriculture. At that time, she said me yes. That was like she said, okay, she's a kid. But my dream came true in 2014, when that dream, actually I tried to pursue it. In 2014, I got an admission into the Government College of Maharashtra, that is Dr. Balasaheb Sawant Konkan Krishi Vidyapit. I had many obstacles in 2014, when after completing my 12th grade, I had to, take the admission in this university. It was not that easy for me, because I had questions that why agriculture? What is the scope? Because they all know everything about engineering, about medical, about dentists and everything, but I didn't have answer to that question, because I didn't have any example to say them, okay, this person is achieving these things in agriculture. I didn't have any answer. I just said, my mom, believe me, I will do it. In 2014, when I applied for the admission, I didn't have any background about agriculture. I didn't have any land, agricultural land. I just applied purely on the basis of my 12th grade. In the first round, I did not get admission. I got the admission in the private college. And I was not in the capacity, in the financial capacity, that I would be able to pursue my study in the private college. Yeah, I was very sad. But I don't know what happened. In the second round, I got the admission into this government college. And this government college ranks 8th in India in agriculture. And I was very happy to get admission at this university. Now comes 2014 to 2018. This is not just the turning point of my career, but it is also the turning point of my life. Because whatever I am today, the way I'm speaking, the way I behave, it's all because of this university. I never thought in 2014, actually, like I wanted to pursue agriculture, but at the back of the mind, I don't wanted to leave my family and go to a different district and to stay in a different culture. I wanted to continue studying in this university. I have to go to Ratnagiri district. Of course, the culture was completely different to me. But somewhere or other, I had to prove myself, because I have taken admission. And on top of that, just to be firm about my decision, I didn't even register in the Mumbai University. So if I miss this admission, I will not be studying anywhere. So I had to take the admission. I have to go there. I started with my studies. I still remember the initial days at Agriculture University. I was not able to even recognize some of the plants. I was not even able to recognize the okra, that's lady's finger. People started laughing at me. They said me that you came into agriculture and you do not know even the simple plants. I was not angry at them, because they were right. I didn't know anything. But at that very moment, I knew that I have to compete with the people who are from the farming background, who have started their childhood on agriculture. So, and there I started exploring the campus. I used to go out in the campus. This university is way too big. It's on 600 acres of land. It has many types of plants. I used to go out, I used to explore, I used to talk with the local people. Language barrier. They were not able to speak Hindi. And I was not good at Marathi. I started speaking in broken Marathi. In 2 years, I was so fluent with Marathi that no one can say that I'm not a Maharashtrian. They used to think that I'm a Maharashtrian. And I used to speak fluently with them. I used to learn even from the local people, apart from the professors. I used to see how they are doing with, like, how they are dealing with their everyday life. We learn many things theoretically, but that is not practical. We cannot apply everything on land. So I explored everything. I went in the campus. I used to identify plants. I used to identify weeds. And the main part was first semester, and I stood second in the university. And that was that was shocking even for my professors, because I was zero when I came in the university. I didn't know anything, and I stood second. At that time, they all had a different type of respect for me. And not only about the academics, but I did many things. I used to like playing chess. I used to like playing carom. I used to like playing badminton, and I used to play at the regional level. But at certain point of the time, I had to choose between career and between sports. So of course, I went for career, because I don't wanted to choose my career in sports, and I had to stop playing at certain level. And now I would like to focus at what I studied in agriculture, because this is little new for everyone. During my bachelor's, I used to study how does a plant function, like how they grow, what is the role of soil, what is the role of climate on plants, how all these in combination affects the plant growth, what is how does how to get increased yield, how to grow in greenhouse, everything. Like, as humans have diseases, plants do have diseases. There are pest attacks. So as recently we know, there was a locust attack everywhere in India. So I deal with all such things. I have to plan the schedule of the plants, how to grow them, when to grow them, and how to protect them from the diseases and from the plants. But this was basic in 2018, like till 2018. This was all basic to me. Then came 2018 and 2019. In 2018, I completed my bachelor's study. Yeah, I got the, I've been addressed as agriculturalist Twinkle within Lapis here, but that's not the end. That was the beginning. I cannot stop there, because somewhere or the other, I have to set an example in my field. So in 2018, as like other students, I started preparing for masters, but masters in India. I started preparing for entrance exams. I gave the state level exam. I gave the national level exam. I don't know, what should I say? I was fortunate or unfortunate. The national level exam in 2018, due to some issues, they had to do the re-exam. And I'm a person, I'm not that patient. When they declared about the re-exam, I said, my mom, I'm not going to give the exam again. That's it. Because being an open category student, having a gap in the studies, it was impossible. It was not impossible. It was my chances to get in the reputed College of India went to 50%. And I said, I don't want to study everything again. It's not possible for me to cover the whole syllabus of 1 year into 1 month. So she said me, it's okay, but what next then? You have to do something. Yeah, and my mom, she wanted me to do further studies, but I was very stubborn that I don't want to study. I want to give up my studies. And she was like, no, that's not possible. Then you have to give me some firm plan what you will be doing. So I said that I want to do something new. In the background, you can see mushrooms. So I started learning about mushrooms, mushroom cultivation. I was much into mushroom cultivation. I used to travel every day from Ghatkopar to Karjat just to learn mushroom cultivation. I learned mushroom cultivation, and then I joined an NGO. Through NGO, I used to deliver lecture on oyster mushroom cultivation and its economic feasibility, basically to the farmers. And I used to deliver lecture into local language, that is in Marathi. So somewhere or the other in the bachelor's, when I started learning Marathi, that was helpful for me to secure the job. But after 2 or 3 months, I was I said, no, this is not what I am meant for. I want to do something else. I cannot do this thing for my whole life. I said to my mom that I want to start my own business. So she said me, okay, what is your plan when it comes to business? I said, I want to set up my mushroom unit. She said me, I give you 1 year. If you can't do anything, you have to continue your studies. Okay, I said, okay, fine, I will try. She gave me 10,000 rupees. I started my business and she said me that in this 1 year, you have to give me my money back. And I said, you are my mom and you are talking to me this way. She said, when it comes to money, there is no relationship in money. So I said, okay. And I was not lucky in my business. Everything went down. That whole 10,000 rupees, I was not able to, earn profit. I was in loss. I came back home. I was very sad when it didn't work. My mom, she said me, what did you think in the beginning when you started the business? I said that if the business is successful, I would grow it more. Like I started my business in 100-meter square area. And I said her that if it gets successful, I'm going to grow it more. Then she said me, do you have plans when you get failed? I said, no, I didn't have any plans when I get failed. She said, that's the reason you failed. And I was laughing also, and I was very sad about it. And then my journey began for Germany, because as we had a deal that if I fail, I have to continue studying. I started preparing for the exams. Along with that, I again joined where I was working in the NGO, because I had to pay my mom back. And then I started learning the German language in order to survive in Germany. Why Germany? Because Germany is well known for the life science field. The basic research here, it is the best. And now also in this pandemic situation, you can see that Germany has beat this situation in a very nice way. So when it comes to life science field, Germany is one of the reputed country. 2018 and 19 was a year gap for me, but it was something happened which I never expected. 2nd December 2018 is my birthday also, and at the same day I was awarded at BSCMS. So it was like, keep going, your efforts will be appreciated. In this whole journey, I was not recognized because somewhere or the other my field is not that renowned. And I gave the exams. I applied to all the public university of Germany. During that, after the application in May 2019, actually in January, I had the interview from the universities. I applied to 4 universities. All the 4 universities interviewed me through Skype. In May, I got the acceptance letter. I was very happy with the acceptance letter, but at the same time, I was even worried because I had to gather money in order to study over there. So all our organization, they helped us a lot. And due to that, because of them, today I am here. So 20 September 2019, I came to Germany, and that was a fly towards my dreams. In 2019 and 20, as I said, 2019, I came to Germany and I started with my studies. In the beginning, everything was new to me. The education system, the culture. Again, I have to come into a new culture. I learned German language, but when I came to Germany, I was not able to understand a single word. Of course, I'm studying in English. I'm not studying in German, but still, when it comes to localites, I have to speak a bit of German. And my field is to interact with people, interact with farmers. So I should know a bit of German. But in the beginning, I was a little scared because I was not able to understand anything. But gradually, I started understanding a bit. I was happy because I was doing something I like. When now I am studying agrigenomics. It is basically genetics and agriculture. So out we know that scientists that deal with DNA of humans, I deal DNA of plants. I got my first project in December to work on plant molecular biology. That is, I detect the genes of the plants and basically the flowering genes, that why the plants flower, like what exactly, which genes or which DNA is responsible for that. That was my first project. My second project was the fungal diseases in plants, and I was working with 16 fungal species. Yesterday, I got a new project in the sector of plant breeding, and I'm very happy that even in the lockdown, I got a new project. It's a part of my curriculum. Yet I have to whole day I have to be in the lab, and I was very happy. Yesterday I was working in the lab again, and yeah, that's my journey. So it's not big. It's still the starting, and let's see what happens again ahead. Thank you.
It looks like Ilabe might have actually dropped off for a bit, but I think we can continue the chat here. And thank you, Twinkle, for all of your experiences. Certainly agriculture is not something that I had thought of before. And I have a question about, to everyone, Tanvi, Twinkle, and Gina. You guys are in such different fields, right? So these aren't like typical fields that a lot of people consider. Today, how do you define success for your fields, and what are you guys looking at in the next 5 years within your fields going forward? I'd love to hear more about your future dreams, hopes, and visions.
I can take. Tanvi, why don't you go ahead?
So yeah, the field is different, and the way I was introduced to it, I guess, was through Olympiads, but also just looking at National Geographic and Discovery channels, and just being inspired about living in the mountains, which I've done for multiple months. And you'll often hear that this can be a hobby, or pursue it as a hobby, but like do something that like engineering or medicine that might be you have a clearer path in, which I think is a wise advice in many cases. But if you choose a field that is not so conventional, I recommend defining your success metrics beforehand, which for me was financial independence, but also publishing in reputed journals. So there are indices like, say, impact factor, which sort of put different fields at par or at a good comparison level. And just being the best in any field will, even if it's, say, people say that maybe archaeology is something where you have very little chance of earning a lot, but if you are the best in it, you will do well. So as long as you've worked hard, if you've been the best in that field, I think that's a good success metric.
Go ahead, Gina, Twinkle.
Sure. Look at the state of our cities. I mean, I think in India, for example, I think a 5-year measurement of where I think it's going to be a long journey. And it's not necessarily going to happen in the next, it's going to take at least my lifetime to see our cities being much more inclusive, being much more equitable, societies being much more inclusive and equitable, at least in India. And I think that is the direction in how we should be thinking about our cities and our communities. And my hope for India's trajectory of urbanization is that, at least in the next 5 years, is that we're able to at least start thinking about decentralization a bit more seriously. When I say decentralization, I mean allow decision making to happen in cities with urban local governments much more, have more empowered urban local bodies, get them to make decisions with much more evidence-based, and also sort of pilot good ideas, test, pilot. I don't. So I guess that's my hope for for the sector, at least in India.
Yes, Twinkle?
Yeah, to me, actually, my journey to Germany was like, it was not expected. For me, this is also a success. It's my mom who had decided, like, she was so firm that no, you have to do the master's study and you have to do it abroad. And I'm very happy because she is happy. And I'm also happy because I'm doing what I like. Every day, I wake up in the morning with the excitement that I'm going to work in the lab. I'm going to do something new. For me, for the coming 5 years, I don't know about coming 5 years, but I seriously want to work as a scientist and soon be labeled along with agriculturalist as a scientist. So, yeah, this is my plan for the 5 years. And
Yeah. Jessica, we have to
my
hear.
contribution, and I would like to see that I'm studying agriculture and that should be beneficial to all the Indian farmers too. That's it.
Yeah,
I
Jessica,
have a question for
Jessica.
Oh, yeah. Jessica, you should respond to this as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah, for sure. I thought I could get away with just asking the question, no? Yeah, so I think in the next 5 years as a field, like I said, I think there's a lot of things in the general field of computer science, like security is always will be a big consideration. And then with the advent of machine learning and artificial intelligence, we will have to ask ourselves very difficult questions as a humanity species. What do we preserve? What do we think of as jobs that fundamentally belong to only humans? If that even exists. So I think there's a lot of like moral questions in the field that we are at a crossroads, and we can do it really well, or we could do it in a way that really seriously hinders the long-term viability of the human species almost. So I think there's a lot of those key challenges in the field. And specifically for me, what I'm interested in, like I mentioned earlier, is helping people with the basis of that information. People today don't understand what's true and what's false. So it's very ironic where in a day and age where everyone has access to information, but there's almost too much information, and extracting the signal from the noise today, whether you're making a decision for your business or a personal decision, or even a decision on what to eat, what to wear, it's very overwhelming. And I want to be able to help people get to moments of clarity through that.
I have a question to all of you all. I'll have one question at least. I'll begin with Gina. Gina, you studied in one of the world best university, that is the Harvard University. And we know that the journey through Harvard was not so simple. And going oceans abroad from India, getting such a great education. What inspired you to come back to India and serve in India? Why did you not, like many others, want to stay back there and make a good career for yourself? Enjoy the comforts of a developed nation.
Yeah. I will say there was a pull and a push factor there. And I think while I was studying and even post that, after I graduated, I landed a very, very well-paying job. It was very comfortable. I had a fantastic life, getting done at 5 o'clock, going for all kinds of lectures, attending lots of community meetings, being really involved in the community where I lived, and going away for, exploring new towns in Massachusetts and around. Both for work and after work during weekends. It was fantastic. But I felt very empty the whole time. I think after through the 2 years when I was studying in the world's best university, I felt very empty. I felt for the first time, I felt less purposeful. And I felt almost guilty about having this life in the US. Whereas cities in India and citizens in India struggle in the kinds of urban environments that we have. And I think, so I tried to explore ways in which I could work remotely on India while being there, but nothing was really working out. And I never really thought that I would be able to come back to India because, I was still struggling to pay off my loans and such. And then it happened. I lost my job, which I hated. I should not say this on YouTube, but I didn't like that job too much. And the day I lost that job, I felt extremely liberated that finally now I can make my choices and see how I could feel much more purposeful. And, I already had an H-1B by then, so that was a good, that was just good to have, even now as a safety net. It goes through a lottery process and not everybody gets it. So that's been comforting to know. And I explored various opportunities at the time when I lost my job. And I found an opportunity that required me to come back to India and to work on cities of Pune and Chennai and such. And it was only going to be for a year. And I thought it was worth the risk because it involved sort of making a very strategic shift in my career, more towards where I wanted to go, more policy making instead of just pure urban design. And I hope to be able to bring these two together at some point. And so I took that risk, and the project that was for 1 year became a year and a half. And after that, I didn't have anything that really calls me back to the US. There is no organization or a place that, even though the US really feels like home and is very liberating in a lot of ways, there's nothing at the moment that's inviting me back. And this opportunity at the ministry opened up, and somehow I landed here. And it feels right at the moment. It feels good. I'm happy to be here, and hopefully I'll be here for the next 2 years and then maybe go back to the US. But at that point, I think I'm going to re-struggle with imposter syndrome. And I'm going to ask this question to everybody else on the panel on how you deal with imposter syndrome. But I'll leave that for my question after you're done with questions to everyone.
I have a question. Thank you, Gina, for the very open, transparent reply, which is quite convincing. And we are very happy. We are very proud of you that you have landed in the ministry. You are able to contribute to national building in the policy making. We are definitely very happy for it. But it was just a question which was bothering. I wanted to get some answer for it. Going to Tanvi. Tanvi, you have traveled many countries and 45 nations, and you have lived a large part in India. And of course, now several years in the US also. And definitely you are an expert now in soil and a lot of other hobbies also that you pursue. How do you look at your future as contributing to the global, you can say the global benefit?
Right. So there are a few paths I'm considering right now. I finish my PhD next year. And if I go the energy path, I think it's an extremely powerful industry where you can influence at the higher level, not just a transition to clean energy, but also energy geopolitics. Because a lot of human rights issues are somehow tied with energy geopolitics. And I think by influencing that sphere, one, in the way of transitioning to green energy, to make sure that there are investments in that direction, and two, through perhaps just understanding that industry better and influencing policymaking. So in the end, for a higher level impact, as Gina said, I think policymaking is where you can have a longer term, larger impact. Although grassroots level work is extremely important, I think that is where I would want to use my skills. for a greener, safer world.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tanvi. I think your vision is very clear, and we really wish you the best for that. Coming to Jessica. Jessica, you would like to work on data management, and basically you're into data mining and data analytics and all the recent jargons that we all hear from all spheres. Uh, right now, we are in the COVID period, and the COVID-19 has itself brought in a lot of information and data, some which is true, some which is not. How do you think you have contributed, or how do you think you would be contributing? I mean, is there any sphere that you have worked on it?
Yeah, for sure. And yes, today I think the world as a whole is going through a collective crisis. We have never quite faced this together. So a lot of mechanisms are still being worked out. Actually, I'm very proud and fortunate to work at Instabase right now, where what Instabase does is actually we help businesses solve their toughest problems, especially around operations in loan processing, insurance, all of that. And we actually released, so in the United States, at least, there is a fiscal stimulus program. So a lot of people are hurting, right? Because people have lost their jobs, and particularly affected are small businesses, because those were the ones that had the foot traffic and they don't have an online presence. So for small businesses in the United States, actually, there's this SBA, Small Business Association Payment Protection Program that was recently released. And what that meant was that you could get your paycheck basically insured for your employees for the next 2 or 3 months. The problem with that sounds like a great thing in theory. The problem is in the practice. There are so many people, there were millions of people who are unemployed today who applied for these, fiscal stimulus, a lot of billions of dollars for this like payment protection program. And all the banks today were actually absolutely inundated with these loan applications and requests that from a regulatory standpoint, they actually absolutely had to serve. And what we were able to do was actually create systems that help people automate loans much, much easier than they have been, that didn't require a lot of manual oversight. And I cannot unfortunately name the banks involved, but some of the largest banks are today processing relief and paycheck programs through Instabase right now. And I'm very happy to be working at a company that builds the platform that we can immediately, when something like this happens in the world, go and help very, very quickly. And we actually made that free also for small businesses. So we have our regular enterprise customers who pay, but it's also a free program that people can use our services to process loans.
Excellent. It was really nice to hear how you have related yourself to the current situation at the global level. Coming to Twinkle, Twinkle, you have discussed acres of land, you've discussed so many plants, you've discussed research, and you've discussed your mom.
Yeah.
There are several things that you discussed. Can we say, Twinkle, that you will be back in India for contributing to the agriculture in India?
At present, if you say I am thinking about this thing, after completing my studies or after completing some of the researches which I want to do in some sectors, yeah, I would like to come back and to contribute to the Indian farmers, because when I see Germany and when I see India, not only Germany, many parts of Europe, when I see their way of cultivating the crops, and when I see our way of cultivating of the crops, so I think we need much of a push ahead. We are very far back. We are not mechanized the way they are mechanized. I am like, if we have even the 20% of mechanization what Germany or what Europe has, India can be the leading country in the world, because we have diversity. The If you say the types of plants which are grown in India, we grow everything. We grow spices, we grow fruits, we grow vegetables. But when it comes to other countries, they cannot grow these many types of vegetables or these many types of crops. So yeah, I would like to contribute, and I wish to come back. Yes.
So I would just like to say, Twinkle, that looking into such the vastness of agricultural spread in India, and looking into your contribution, or rather I would say your development, right from the villagers of Dapoli to the technological world that you see at Germany. I'm sure youth like you would be the right people to bridge this gap for India. And my question is there for all of you, maybe from distance, maybe from the US or Germany, wherever you all are. I want you all to think how you can contribute to the development of this nation, the country. And above all, also, how do you think you can contribute to the KVO community, maybe independently also, but how do you think you can make a difference to the KVO community? I just want you to think. I don't want an answer right away. I mean, I don't expect that also. I know it's a very strong question that I've made, a very strong statement. It requires a lot of thinking. It's not something that someone can just cook something and give. I just want you to reflect. I want you to think. I'm not asking you to come back if you don't wish to. Y'all can definitely stay wherever you are happy. However, as we all know, COVID has brought around, the pandemic has brought all of us on a online platform, on the digital space, and we know the things that we could not do without meeting personally. We have all started getting used to this new normal, and we are accomplishing a lot of things across the globe. And probably the contribution that we never thought y'all can also give from distance may be possible. We need to think and we need to reflect. So if you can, have some kind of a physical space, and not a physical, your mental space and a time space in your life on a daily basis, or you can say on a regular basis, not a daily, but on a regular basis. If you can think of contributing in some way to the nation and to the community, I'm sure all the people who talk about brain drain will definitely feel proud that it is not brain drain, it is brain invested, that we have invested into brains who are contributing to the nation and the community building also. Uh, and maybe my statements are too strong, and don't take it too hard. If you think it makes any sense any time in your life, it may not be today, any time in future, maybe you can reflect and definitely think how you can do it. I'm not asking for any answers today or tomorrow. It's up to you what you wish to do. I would like to just add over here, Gina, that maybe accidentally, maybe somewhere in your subconscious mind, you had that vision that you wanted to do something meaningful for the country and to have an inclusive, housing or inclusive societies. And probably India is a nation where there is immense scope to work on it. Similarly, as Twinkle said, India is an agricultural country which has immense scope. Similarly, Jessica, India has a huge population, and as humanity is there, there is a lot of, as many human, that much of data also. So there is immense scope for you to work down here. And similarly, I would say also to Tanvi, I know your passion is on the soil, and the environment. And I'm sure there is immense scope. India has had always been in the past one of the top in the environmentalist, as an environmentalist country. All the spiritual, you can say, scriptures also lead to environment friendly measures and a pure world. I'm sure that you will find something back in India also to do your research and to work around. This is just a message that I'm giving y'all. My last few minutes, I would like to give to the four of y'all to communicate whatever you want to the community. I have not I've not interacted with the members on the YouTube, but I would just like to say a few words from there. I know that they have had lots and lots of praises for all of y'all. It is very difficult for me to read out all the names, Of course, the chat messages will be available, the videos will be available. I would just like to mention a few of them over here. Sanjay Shah, who's the member of the founder trustee, the family, the donor family, he said all the speakers are so much educated and matured at such a young age with so much clarity. With new US policy for non-US citizen, what would be your advice to other KVO children studying or working in USA? It's a question. You can keep your answers ready. Uh, Amritlal Savla has had a suggestion. I'm not sure whether he's Jessica. Is he your father-in-law? Sorry, Tanvi. Connected.
He is my husband's kaka.
Yeah. Okay, your in-law. He says, Ilabin, have this program in Gujarati or Kutchi language also and publicize it through the Patrika and let the Kutch Wagad Halar community know these Kohinoors from our community. I fully agree to what he's saying. And I think that's the responsibility of all of us also. Mahendra Bhai Chera, who is the trustee of this organization, all the speakers' presentations are crystal clear and crisp. It will be very good guidelines and inspiration to think differently in non-conventional ways. Thanks for sharing your exciting journey. He says this on behalf of Matushri Manibai Trust. Sanjay Shah also says agricultural yields in India are half of world peak yields. What would be your message to the government of India for Atmanirbharta? I think that's a question to Twinkle directly. Mahendra Bhai also says, if Matushri Manibai Trust thinks of inspiring and supporting KVO girls to become stars like you all, what are your suggestions and how will you contribute your time, your ideas, and so on? I think there are too many questions. You can pick up one and just answer. And there are many, I would say, appreciation messages. I'm so sorry I'm not able to read all of them. But there are a lot of appreciation. Your parents, your families, the KVO community, and so on. You can pick up from the questions that I've said and also rope it up with a last message that you would like to give the community from the distance far, whether it's Delhi, Germany, or USA, California, wherever you are. Yes.
I can start first.
Yes.
I think it connects to the first question and also the comments that you shared. Even though I chose to move back to India and choose to be here, I think everybody who's gone abroad should think about what is the best platform for them to be able to do work at scale. I think thinking about brain drain in a way, to think about moving back and that being the only way to make an impact is flawed. Think staying in the United States, for example, for someone like Jessica, or even for someone like Tanvi, she might be able to make much more global impact than India would allow. So I think without thinking about national boundaries in a way or thinking about a country or getting too patriotic in your sentiments, I think we should each think about what is the right platform for us and at what time in our life and leverage that to the best of our abilities.
I agree to you completely, Gina, and that's why I said wherever you are from, maybe you can contribute in some way. And even Mahendra Bhai has asked you, how would you like to contribute in time, ideas, and so on. Yeah, thank you, Gina. I completely agree to you. That's why I said I don't want to call you all back. You stay where you are happy. But do think of how you can, because your contribution, your thoughts are so forward, your mind is so matured, and you have that perspective, that global perspective. And that perspective is required for the growth of the country also and of the community. I can definitely say for the community, we require minds like yours also. So from distance also, there's lots that can happen. Yeah. Yes, you can pick up any question. Twinkle, you have a buffet now.
Yeah, I would, as he's, can you repeat the question?
The question for you was from Sanjay Bhai, And it was, I'll search it.
Okay, I remember a part of it.
Yeah, he said agricultural yield in India, half of world peak yield. What would be your message to the government of India for Atmanirbharta? That is for self-sufficiency.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
translate
self-sufficiency.
that Atmanirbharta for you.
Yeah. As you said that I was working for 6 months, I worked in the primitive village. In these slides, of course, it is not possible to cover all my experience with the farmers. But when it comes to giving some suggestions, we are somewhere lacking in the research field. If the research field is not developing, we cannot develop. So as he said, as he's asking about the yield, somewhere or the other, we have a lack in research. That's the reason we are not progressing in yield. We have excellent seeds, we have excellent companies, we have excellent hybrid varieties. But one more thing which is lacking is the knowledge with the farmers. They are still following their traditional methods. They are not ready to adapt to new things. So somewhere or the other, the government has to, do the programs. They do the programs in order to educate farmers, but still it's not reaching to the grassroots level. They are not that open to all these things. If there is some improvement in the research sector and if they show the results, the farmers will adapt to them. So they have to show the results. So universities, they have to work hard with the research field. Then only there will be some development when it comes to yield.
Yeah, we got your point. This is the basic illiteracy and the lack of awareness at the grassroots level for various spheres. Farming and agriculture is one, but there are many others also, which is the reason for the lack of growth and development. And I think hopefully your message reaches somewhere. Yes.
I'll answer the question about what Kachi Samaj can do to keep progressing and what we can do to contribute. So the world is changing very rapidly right now. And I think one way to move along with it instead of stay stuck in the past or the present is to be very open. And I think open to changes and to be learning from not just a tiny circle around you. I think you're extremely exposed to family and close friends, but also expand that circle and learn from it. And I think KVO is already doing that extremely well. So one, for example, is just expanding the definition of merit from academics to overall. So co-curriculars, having group discussions as one of the evaluation criteria for BCSMA. All those are very progressive, forward-thinking ideas. To think of having a Kanya Kelavani Fund such a long time ago for that era was already very progressive. So as long as we continue doing that, and be open to the changing world, to newer ideas, to sending folks from here to other places to learn, to make communities there. So for example, when I came to the US, I stayed with the Kutchi family for the first 7 days to learn extremely basic things like how to order coffee in the US. So have that community here, community building activities, and be open to and encouraging of competitions outside as well. So we are already open to those national and state level competitions and appreciating those. So exposing yourself to world competition, not just city or not just your school or not just your community, think that would keep us on par with the rapidly changing world. That's all. Thank you.
Great thoughts. Thank you, Tanvi. Yes, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, these are all very, very good questions that I think each of those questions warrants like a 30-minute answer in itself. But to keep it short, I think in addition to what people have said already, the progress of a society is really composed by the success of all of its members. So it's like the sum of all successes and more makes the progress of us as a Kutchi society, as a nation, as a world. And when I think of success, I sort of break it down into a few components: luck, hard work, opportunity, and a creative spark. Luck is not something we can control, so let's not think about that. Hard work is something that I think each person has to individually find their motivation to do. And opportunity is, I think, exactly what people like you are bringing to everyone, because talent is everywhere. Opportunity is the one that's rare. Opportunity is the one that's not spread evenly across the world. And the best way to do that is to have these platforms, have these group discussions, bring the knowledge of the world to the communities. And then the last thing is that creative spark. And I feel like that is sort of the role of people like us, where we're not necessarily just yet creating the opportunities. Maybe one day when we have a big companies, we can create the opportunities for employment and education. But today I see our role as influencing that spark. Can we inspire the people on this call to be more creative, to be more open, to be more caring, um, towards that success? So that's how I would say.
Yeah.
I'd like to add another point here.
Yes.
We've a lot of, I think everything that you've been doing so far is fantastic. And a large part of it is towards young professionals or people who are going to make career choices. And maybe I don't know enough, but I think some amount of work could also be helpful in women who are, in their mid to late 30s who want to rejoin workforce after maternity care, or women who want to continue to work after marriage. I think in India, according to statistics, India has one of the lowest percentage of working women in the lower and medium income countries. And several factors because of that, but I think some support from the community and effort from the community, very focused on women who are married or women who want to join workforce after child giving activities should be the next focus area.
Yeah. I think you've said it very well, and that's very appropriate. Although there are many families who have started getting very supportive in India, but yes, still the advancement has to be made in this direction. We cannot say that we've achieved it all. I mean, there are still many girls, many young girls, and many young women who still are living in a world of frustration because they want to get back to their profession, however, have no support or have less support, and which do not allow them to be equally productive as they would have been otherwise. So I think scaling up is required in every direction. It is required in this direction also. I would only like to say that local is equally important and the global is also equally important. Although the thought process right now in the country is be vocal for local, but I would say yes, at the global level, if there is progress, progress will surely happen even at the local level and the national level. We are happy for you all. We are happy that you are able to help and contribute to the growth and development in research, in industry. You're able to help in policy making in different ways. And we wish you all the very best. And I would invite you to read the chat messages that have come in on YouTube later on, whenever you have the time, because there are a lot of people who have showered their blessings onto you and a lot of appreciation messages for you. And I would say that you really truly deserve all of them. And thank you very much for the wonderful evening that we have spent. I know it must be feeling for you coming back at home, feeling the Kutchi, you can say the climate and the mood of the KVO community. But we will definitely keep the suggestion from Amrutbhai Savla We must have these programs also in Gujarati or in Kutchi for the benefit of many other and of different across different generations. Many suggestions are there also. We'll see how best we can implement them. And you are welcome to stay connected, to keep giving your suggestions. It's not only for today. All of you all, Gina, it's for all of you all. Do continue to give your suggestions, Twinkle, Jessica, and Tanvi. We are extremely proud of all your achievements. You have made a name and fame at the global level, and you may continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Ilana.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thank you, Elaben. Thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.